Declan Caulfield, thank you so much for bringing me to your favourite bar, which is the best name of any bar we've been on yet. The Dying Cow in County Wicklow.
Yes, Gary, welcome. So the Dying Cow, it's my local, my favourite bar. It's located in Tinahely, which is between Tinahely and Shillelagh in the Wicklow Mountains, and it is very rural. So outside of here, there's a hill. It's maybe 60 to 70 degrees. And if you fall out through the front door of this pub, you could well fall down to the bottom of that hill.
we get quite a few people from all over the world that watch this show, and they always comment about how do you pronounce and spell some of the names that you announce. Shillelagh.
Shillelagh, that's it, or the shillelagh stick, as they might say in America.
And is it from there? Is there origins? No, don't know.
It's not actually now. In more recent times, there is a local man from Shillelagh who sort of capitalized on that, and he started manufacturing the shillelagh stick in Shillelagh, and he's doing quite well for himself.
And why not? That's what entrepreneurism is all about, seeing the opportunity and going after it. Dying Cow. Come on, there has to be a story. How does one end up? How does a pub end up? Is there a cow somewhere that's perpetually dying, or what's the story?
You're knocking on the door. You're nearly there. So the Dying Cow, it's actually called Tallon's Bar, but it's better known as the Dying Cow. And you won't find Tallon's Bar on any website or any Google Maps or anything, but you'll find the Dying Cow. So Tallons are the family who owned that bar traditionally. It's now owned by Dolan. So Eamon Dolan and his family and his kids more recently, they run the bar. But his family, the Tallons, many years ago, they had the bar running, and you'll remember as well as I do that there were days in the year that bars weren't allowed to open, and that there were hours of the day on certain days where the bar was supposed to shut, or the pub was supposed to shut. So on one certain day, the Garda on Gardy Síochána arrived up to the pub, and inside the pub were a crew of men inside drinking pints. So they were all about to get in trouble, and the lady of the bar pulled the guard outside, and she said, "Oh, I need to tell you what's going on here." So she brought the guard outside, and she said, "Oh, I was in a bit of bother last night, and one of my cows was dying in the yard." So the family are farmers as well. So I called the lads, and the lads came around here, and they all helped me to nurse this sick, dying cow. And then, unfortunately, the cow passed away, and I felt that I had to give the lads something to drink for their help to me. So that's how it became known as the Dying Cow.
Yeah, I'd say there's a few more stories like that. I think they're called lock-ins now, aren't they?
Yeah, does it still happen?
Isn't it a brilliant story? You know, and they get lost. All that great stories get lost because we probably don't have the same community spirit around a pub anymore, do we?
No, 100%. So when I was growing up, that bar that you're sitting in now and I'm sitting in the background, it looked exactly like that. Okay, so you'll see there's no toilets. You can't see a toilet door anywhere. So the toilets are outside. So you go outside the pub door and you turn left and you go into what's really a shed, and that's where the toilets are. And they're still there to this day, and it adds to the authenticity of the pub. You know? But
I didn't see in any of the photographs or in these a television. Have they a television?
No TV. So no. This is one of those pubs where the locals come in and they just start singing, they start playing instruments, and it's got that community spirit, you know. So it's expanded a bit in the last couple of years since Eamon's kids got involved, really. And it's now got some glamping pods out the back, and they've built a conservatory at the front, which is really well done because there's a beautiful view off the front of this pub, and they've done it so it's all glass, and you can sit there. You have a bit more space. You've got an open fire out there, and you can sit and look out at the view, and it's not obstructed. But when I went up there first, there was none of that. It's got Wi-Fi now. That's revolutionary, you know. But it was one of those places with no phone coverage, no TV, and when you went there, you sat and you talked to somebody, you know.
Wow.
And you had a really good conversation. So the people from Shillelagh, people from Tinahely, people from all the surrounding areas would go there because all roads in Wicklow somehow lead to the Dying Cow.
Well, that's where all the storytellers go, including how it got its own name. I mean, I often think that Roddy Doyle and the likes of these guys, they don't have to go really too far to pick up great stories, and they obviously can embellish it and stuff. But it really is the name of the bar and the whole how it got its name. So let's assume that you're there and you've got a packed audience, and they're all nicely oiled up, as we say, and they're ready for a quote. You're going to give them a quote that'll define their life, not just their day, aren't you?
Yeah. Yeah. So one quote or a favorite quote of mine is that only when the tide goes out do you find out who's been swimming with their togs off. And I think it's by Warren Buffett, by the way. Warren Buffett made that statement. And I think it's true. It's true in all aspects of life. You know, if that's just a human aspect or if it's professional, if it's sporting, whatever it is, you know, you get bluffers in every way of life. And eventually, when the tide goes out, you'll find out who's been bluffing. So I think it's important, be genuine, you know, just be yourself. When you walk into that pub, you will only find genuine people. So that's why I like that quote. Warren Buffett has loads of other quotes, but that's my favorite.
And you know, it's a funny one because I do remember Warren Buffett saying that, and it was about the collapse of the market in, I think, 87. So it's nearly 40, 50 years. But when you can apply it, as you rightly say, which is interesting, to sport, it's easy to be part of a squad when you're winning every week.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then you lose a few games. And I know that I am from Wicklow, as you know myself, and I do see Tinahely and Shillelagh. Quite, aren't they good? They're quite good at some. Is it hurling? Would it be?
No, we're both football clubs. So look, there's definitely a rivalry between ourselves. But what's really important down in our area, like all of the villages were built to service the Callatin estate, really. So the Callatin estate was run by the Fitzwilliam family, the Wentworth Woodhouse family before that, and then all of the villages. So Tinahely, Shillelagh, Coolboy, Carnew was there because there was a castle there, but they were all built to service that estate. And then we all play GAA. So I played a lot of football, which is something that not a lot of people will know about me, okay, especially on LinkedIn, you know, but I played a lot of football when I was young. So I captained my club, Tinahely, to win an intermediate championship in 2005. And we would have played a lot of our
right. Baby. Yeah. 2005, that's 20 years ago.
Yeah, so I was only 23 when that happened. And for 21 years previous to that, we hadn't won a championship. So I was 21, somewhere around there. Yeah. And we won that. We beat some of the local teams in that. So there's always a healthy rivalry in there. You know, there's some really good photos I can show you next time we're having a pint together of ourselves playing Carnew and Shillelagh and different things. But when the football's thrown in, we go hell for leather and we knock one another down. And at the end of the game, we'll pick one another up. So the glory of the community down there include Annacurra, Ockram, knocking Anna into that as well. We'll go for pint after the match and we'll sit. We'll have the crack, you know.
Isn't it a funny thing? And I just saw it yesterday watching a bit of football, and the supporters of two teams in soccer had to be segregated before, after, and during the games, like police cordons, different stations where the one team go on the tube and all the rest. It's quite unique that what an All-Ireland final, would you get 85,000 people from all over?
Yeah, and mixed in between.
And you're disappointed if you don't get a bit of banter and a bit of crack and get a bit of slagging. But it's a different type, isn't it? It's delivered the right way and it's taken the right way. But there's never any, as you say, it doesn't go further than the line or whatever they say.
No, well, that's another good statement, which I'm sure you know. But people say that soccer is a gentleman's game played by thugs. Rugby is a thugs game played by gentlemen, and Gaelic football is a thugs game played by thugs. But
I haven't heard the third one, but I think it's a bit disingenuous because honestly, all I've ever seen, and obviously it's a different part of the GAA, but hurling, where you could do some serious damage, you have a stick, and there seems to be a code, as there is in rugby, of course, a code of respect. And it's often lacking in some of the more professional inverted commas sports, right?
yeah. So the GA is magic, right? So I'll think the GA is praise all the time. Obviously, they have their flaws, everybody does, but the community that the GA builds, it's global. And look, I have to thank the GA for a lot of what's happened in my life. So after 2005, when we won that championship, I moved to Australia, and I played football in Australia. When I was playing, I played with a crowd of lads from the north. I played with lads from all over the country, but there was a couple of lads from Tyrone and a couple of lads from Armagh. And when I came home from Australia, I came up to Armagh to meet some of those lads, to go out and have a pint with them. And it was in Armagh that I met the wife. So that's just one small example where the GA has brought a global community together, and it's resulted in me moving to Armagh. My kids are born and they're being raised in Armagh now. But I can still always pick up the phone and ring my friends down in Tinahely, Ockerman, Corra, Shalala, Carnew, wherever it is, and we can talk football. And it just brings that sense of community, which is not seen in other sports.
Us urbanites or semi-urbanites, we don't quite really get, with the demise maybe of the Catholic Church and other institutions, what's actually steadfast in communities in rural areas has been the GAA. And it's extraordinary what you've said, that there's so many opportunities when you leave Ireland to network into that. And it's not a professional sport, of course.
No, so like when I was in Australia, there was a guy called Joe Middleton who was the manager, and he was a down man, and he was a block player, and they called him Joe Midnight because he would literally work morning to midnight and be up again the next morning and going again. But anybody that landed in Australia, if they had any sort of skills for labouring or laying blocks, Joe was going straight to them and saying, "I give you a job, but you have to play football for me." I love
it. I love it. So let's assume that there's a knock on the door. You've regaled everybody. They've gone away with their quote. They're going off to invest in the stock market and make sure they've got their trunks on. Somebody walks in the door. Who is it you'd love it to be to have a pint with?
Okay. So
one person.
I was asked. Okay. So I'll give you two scenarios then. So somebody that's passed away, somebody that's gone. I would love to have a pint with Luke Kelly. Okay. And other members of the Dubliners. Just when you look back at their photographs from when they were in their heyday, the crack that they had just out there singing and drinking pints of Guinness, it was brilliant. But living then, so just recently, so there's loads of people out there, but just to pick one, maybe two, for me it'd be Shane Lowry and the Bomber Liston. Now work that out. So Shane Lowry, when he won the Open, he cracked open straight away into the fields of Athenry. And I seen more recently himself and Bomber Liston in a golf club, and Bomber Liston broke out singing Grace, and they were having immense crack. They were just up for it, and that sort of crack is where I want to be.
Is that? And I often hear, Bomber Liston, for those that aren't overly familiar, is a very famous Kerry GAA player. Obviously, Shane Lowry is a PGA golfer. But the one thing that I hear about Lowry, never met him, whatever, is the word authentic.
Yeah, he seems it.
He seems it. Is that... Is being authentic going to actually now become a thing that differentiates you? Because everybody in that space... They're PR'd within an inch of their life nearly. What to say, what not to say, how to act, how not to act. Is just being authentic going to be the thing?
I hope so, Gary, because, it's refreshing just to talk to somebody when they're being themselves, and when they don't have a screen up in front of them. What I mean is like a virtual screen where they're not allowed to say something, or, you know, they're watching every word they say. So if somebody can be authentic, I think they're much better received. I'll give you another funny story about Shane Lowry if you want.
Go on. I don't think I can stop you, so go on. I don't know what you're asking.
So my father-in-law, so we've been several places together, right? And a couple of times we've bumped into celebrities, and I'm probably annoying to a point where I go over and I'll start talking to the celebrity straight away, you know. Where my father-in-law, he'd be a bit more standoffish. So we were down in Adair one New Year. So we're down for New Year's Eve, and we were down a couple of days before. And myself and himself had been in a bar backing horses and drinking a few pints one day. And I turned around, and Sharon Shannon was sitting behind me. You know, big Sharon Shannon fan, big traditional Irish music fan. So I went over to Sharon and I said, "Oh, do you mind if I got a photo?" You know, and she said, "Look, it's a bit packed here. I can't do it right now, but before I go, I'll give you a shout and come on out and we'll get it." Yeah. So true to her word, when she was leaving, she came up, tapped me on the shoulder, and myself and the father-in-law stood up to walk out. And as we were walking out, she went, "Oh, there's what do you call the guy that done Wagon Wheel?"
Oh, I don't know. Go on. Wagon Wheel.
Yeah, rock me, mama, like a wagon wheel.
Anyway, we'll pretend we know his name.
She spotted him anyway, and myself and the father-in-law went out, got our photos and everything. And there's been a couple of incidents like that. So the next morning in Adair, we were sitting having our breakfast, and I was sitting, just ate my breakfast, all quiet, not a bother. And I just noticed these guys going out by my left and heading out towards the golf course. And I never passed any remark. And they were gone about 5 minutes, and my father-in-law piped up and he said, "Did you not see Shane Lowry walking out past you?" He was afraid that if he told me he was there, I'd have been over and I'd him having his breakfast.
Yeah, he knows you. He knows you. Yeah. He knows you. But I think that that type of authenticity from people who have obviously been asked for a million, you know, to remember, number one, to come back and show the respect, is fantastic. But listen, Declan, we've been to Australia, we've been to Tinahely, we've heard about your prowess on a football pitch. You're obviously a poet. That goes without saying. It's been short and sharp, but it's been enjoyable. Thank you so much for bringing us to the Dying Cow.
No problem, Gary. Next time you're in Tinahely, we'll go for a proper pint.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your
time. Take care, my friend.
Bye-bye.